Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something a little distinct today.
A little different.
Yeah, usually we are up at 30,000 feet, tackling these massive, sprawling topics, global economics, the future of AI.
Ancient civilizations?
Exactly, and trying to compress them into something manageable. But today, we're doing the exact opposite. We're zooming all the way in.
It's a localized pulse check. That's probably the best way to describe it.
A pulse check, I like that.
We weren't looking at a decade of trends. We were looking at 1 week.
Right. We have a set of source materials here, specifically a script for, I believe, episode 30 of the Harbor Pod.
That's the one.
And it covers the week of February 9th through the 15th in Channel Islands Harbor, Oxnard, California. And I think the first question a listener might have is, why?
A fair question.
Why does a single week in a specific harbor on the California coast matter to someone who might be listening in London or New York or Tokyo?
And it's a valid question.
Yeah.
But I think the answer lies in how we consume information about places. We usually look at travel or lifestyle through these, generic evergreen lenses.
Oh, sure. Top 10 things to do in California.
Exactly that. Or best beaches for summer. But communities don't live in evergreen time. They live in right now. This source material is fascinating because it's a functional document. It's a briefing for locals and visitors on how to navigate the reality of this specific week. It captures the intersection of biology, weather, culture, commerce. In a way, a glossy guidebook never could.
So our mission today is to synthesize this briefing. We want to understand the vibe of this coastal community,
Right.
the logistics of visiting it right now, and the hidden gems that you'd usually miss if you weren't looking at the local bulletin board. We're treating this harbor as a microcosm of coastal life.
Precisely. We're looking for the signal amidst the noise. We want to extract the actionable intelligence from the source text.
But before we can walk the walk, we have to talk the talk.
Right.
One thing that stood out to me immediately in the source material is the emphasis on language. There is nothing that flags you as an outsider faster than mispronouncing the local geography.
Oh, absolutely. It's the ultimate tell. The classic shibboleth.
Yeah.
If you can't say the name of the town, you probably shouldn't be ordering off the secret menu.
It creates a barrier.
It does. Between you and the local experience.
And the source material actually came with a cheat sheet for pronunciation, which I found incredibly helpful and honestly a little charming. Because you look at a map of this area and you see the word Hueneme.
Port Hueneme.
My brain wants to say Huname, or maybe Huneem.
You'd think so.
It looks phonetic, but it's a trap.
And you would be wrong on both counts.
Yep.
The guide is very explicit. It's Wainimi.
Wainimi. It feels completely counterintuitive when you look at the letters, but that's the local code?
It's derived from the Chumash language, actually. It's a deep historical root that has survived into modern geography.
Oh, interesting.
And it's not just the maps, it's the food, too. There's a Brazilian restaurant we'll discuss later spelled Moqueca.
Right, I saw that. I read that as Moquica, which sounds logical.
But the local correction and the correct Portuguese pronunciation is Moquecu.
Moqueca.
It's these little linguistic details that really ground you in a place. It reminds you that this isn't a theme park. It's a living community with history and specific cultural influences.
Okay, so we're saying Wainimi and Moqueca. We've got the code. Now let's unpack the timing. Why are we talking about this specific week, February 9th to the 15th? Why is this a critical window for this area?
This is where the source material gets really interesting regarding the natural world. If you look at the ecological calendar, mid-February is a massive sweet spot for the Channel Islands. It's a transition point.
The text mentions it's one of the best times of the year for wildlife viewing.
It is. You have to remember, this harbor isn't just a place to park a boat. It is the gateway to the Channel Islands National Park, which people often call the Galapagos of North America.
Right.
The source explicitly states that right now, in this specific week, you have over a dozen species of marine birds present.
So it's a birder's paradise.
It is. But for the general public, the real draw is the mammals. You have the California sea lions, which are the constant characters of the coast. They bring the noise, the smell, the action.
Yeah.
But the heavy hitters, the headliners, are the whales.
We are in the thick of the migration right now.
Correct. The source notes that this whale watching season runs all the way through May, but February is often peak activity. Gray whales are moving.
And seeing a gray whale in the wild, I mean, it changes your perspective on the ocean. It's not something you see at a zoo.
Not at all.
Is this a blink and you miss it kind of thing, or is it fairly reliable? Because there's nothing worse than booking a whale watching tour and seeing nothing but water.
In this channel at this time of year, it's very reliable. That's why the source material emphasizes it as the primary activity. But what I appreciate about this briefing is that it distinguishes between the all-in adventure and the quick look. It respects that different travelers have different attention spans.
Right, because not everyone has 8 hours to spend on a boat. Some people get seasick, some people have toddlers.
Exactly. If you are the all-in type, the source points you directly to Island Packers. They are the standout operator here. They hold the concession for the national park.
So they're the official choice.
They are. They do the island day trips, the camping drop-offs, and the dedicated whale-watching tours. That is a commitment. You're packing a lunch, you're bringing layers, you're committed to the sea for the day.
But let's say you're just passing through, or you just want a taste of the salt air.
Then you pivot. The source suggests Channel Islands marine safari adventures.
I love the name safari. It implies a hunt for visuals.
It fits perfectly. They offer these 90-minute tours. They even do sunset options. It's a much lower barrier to entry. You get the salt spray, you see the sea lions, maybe you spot a spout in the distance, but you're back on the dock in time for dinner. It's the light version, but still very authentic.
Speaking of being on the water, we have to talk about the weather, because the source material isn't just saying it's nice out. It gives a very specific forecast for this week that actually dictates your strategy.
This is the strategic planning part of the deep dive.
Totally. If you're planning a trip based on this document, you need to pay attention to the sky.
The forecast for this weekend is a classic California winter mix. Saturday, Valentine's Day, the 14th, is forecasted to be sunny with highs in the mid-60s.
That sounds absolutely perfect. That's t-shirt weather if you're from a cold climate, maybe a light sweater weather if you're a local.
It's prime.
Yeah.
That is your get-on-the-boat day. That is your walk-the-harbor day.
But
Sunday brings a shift.
the cool down.
Right. The source warns that Sunday cools off, and there is a potential for light rain. So if you're a traveler using this source effectively, you are front-loading your outdoor activities. You burn your energy on Saturday while the sun is out.
And you save the indoor cultural activities for Sunday. You build your itinerary around the meteorology.
Exactly. And that transition brings us perfectly to the cultural side of the harbor, which is surprisingly deep. I think people often underestimate the cultural footprint of these maritime towns.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when I think small coastal harbor, I think fishing nets, buoys, maybe a crusty old anchor on a lawn.
Sure.
I don't necessarily think 19th century British naval history.
This was the most surprising find in the text for me. It completely subverted my expectations.
We are talking about the Channel Islands Maritime Museum, or CIM.
Located right there in the harbor. Open Thursday through Monday, noon to 4 p.m.
The exhibits they list are wild. They have these intricate model ships by Edward Marples. They have artwork that is 400 years old. But there's one item that made me stop and reread the transcript to make sure I wasn't hallucinating.
The coat.
The coat. They claim to have an exact replica of Admiral Lord Nelson's coat from the Battle of Trafalgar.
It's such an incredibly specific artifact.
For context, the Battle of Trafalgar was 1805. It was the decisive naval battle of the Napoleonic Wars. Nelson died in that battle. And here is his coat, or a perfect forensic replica of it, sitting in Oxnard, California.
It speaks to the universality of maritime culture. It doesn't matter that Trafalgar was in Europe. The history of the sea is a shared history.
That's a great point.
Sailors in California feel a kinship with sailors from 1805. It adds this layer of gravitas to the location. It's not just a tourist trap. There is serious curation happening here. It elevates the harbor from a place of commerce to a place of heritage.
And they aren't just letting it sit there gathering dust. The source mentions a night at the museum event coming up next month where history comes to life.
Right, living history. It suggests a museum board that is active, trying to engage the community, trying to get people to look at these objects as stories, not just things in glass cases.
Moving from history to the arts. Again, you don't always associate a working fishing wharf with live stage productions, but there is a theater right there on the water.
This is the Elite Theater Company. They are located at Fisherman's Wharf.
The source describes the setting as peaceful, which is an interesting word for a theater. Usually theaters are in bustling downtowns with honking horns and bright lights.
It suggests a different vibe entirely. You're not fighting traffic to get there. You're walking by the boats, maybe hearing the water lap against the pilings. And they have a show opening literally this weekend, Friday the 13th.
The play is called Women of the Night. It runs through March 8th. But what caught my eye wasn't just the title, it was the accessibility factor.
The price point is remarkable.
Yes. The source lists tickets at $25 for adults and $15 if you have a group. In a world where a concert ticket is $200 and a Broadway show is $150, that is shockingly affordable.
It frames high culture as a casual option. It's low risk. You can decide at 5:00 p.m. to go see a play at 7:00 p.m. without breaking the bank. It's woven into the fabric of the weekend rather than being this massive, planned financial event.
It democratizes the arts.
It really does. For the community.
So if we're building our itinerary based on this source, Saturday morning we're whale watching, Saturday night maybe we are seeing a play. But let's not forget the calendar. This is Valentine's week.
It is. And the source material is very aware of the love is in the air theme. It's catering to that demographic.
If you want to lean into the romance, and I mean really lean in, full cinematic romance, there is Gondola Paradiso,
which brings a Venetian feel to the California coast. Now, this is a very specific type of leisure.
It's polarizing, isn't it? You either love it or you feel awkward.
It can be. It's slow. It's intimate. It requires you to sit still and be rowed around by someone else. It forces a change of pace. It forces you to just...
But what if you're the kind of couple that hates slow and intimate? What if your version of romance is adrenaline? What if you want to scream a little?
Well, the harbor has a speed-up option, too. The source lists SoCal jet skis and harbor hopper. You can get there and tear up the water if that's your vibe.
I like that the harbor accommodates both speeds. You can drift or you can bounce.
Right.
And if you want to power yourself, somewhere in the middle, there's Channel Islands kayaks for paddleboarding.
And let's not forget the roots of the place. It is a harbor. People go there to catch fish. The source mentions Channel Islands sport fishing and Hook's Landing.
For the serious anglers?
This is for the people who want to catch their dinner, not just look at it. It connects back to that primal hunter-gatherer instinct.
And if you prefer to stay on dry land, maybe you get seasick or maybe you just want to pedal.
You've got wheel fun rentals at Marine Emporium Landing. They have bikes, but they also have those classic Surrey quads.
The four-wheeled bikes with the fringe on top, the ones that look like a cartoon car.
The very ones. It's a bit touristy, sure. You're not going to win the Tour de France in one.
Yeah.
But it's a fun, social way to navigate the area.
Yeah.
And interestingly, if you are staying at the Zachary Dunes Resort, there's a place called Henry's in the plaza that also does bike and beach gear rentals.
So the infrastructure for active leisure is everywhere. You don't have to bring your own gear.
No. And that's key for a destination like this. They lower the friction. You just show up, rent the thing, do the activity, return the thing. It makes being active easy.
Okay, doing all of this, the kayaking, the museum walking, the whale watching, works up an appetite. I want to deep dive into the food scene because the source material gets surprisingly granular here.
It does.
It's not just generic advice like, go get a burger.
No, the culinary landscape described in the text is really a mix of docks and dining rooms. It spans the entire socioeconomic spectrum, which is really rare to find in such a concentrated area.
Let's start with what I consider the most insider tip in the document, the Sunday ritual.
This is the year-round farmers market at Marine Emporium Landing. It's Sundays only. And the source gives us a specific visual cue to look for.
The blue tarp.
The big blue tarp.
The text says to look for the Williams family booth under the big blue tarp. This is the kind of detail I love. It's not a Yelp review. It's word of mouth codified into a script.
It is.
It says they have the best fish tacos and homemade ceviche.
And think about the context. You are at a harbor. That fish in that taco likely didn't travel on a truck across 3 states. It traveled on a boat, walked a few hundred feet, and hit the grill.
And right next door to the market, you have the commercial fishing docks. The source highlights that you can buy seafood straight from the fishermen.
This is the ocean-to-table reality. They list lobsters, box crabs, California king crab, and sea urchins.
Buying a sea urchin straight off a dock is a pretty intense experience if you haven't done it.
It is. It's spiky, it's messy, it's incredibly briny. It's an acquired taste for some, but it's a delicacy. And buying it there creates a direct connection between the consumer and the source.
You're looking the fisherman in the eye.
You see the boat it came off of. It changes the way you appreciate the food.
Now, if you want someone else to do the cooking, and maybe you want a more traditional start to the day, the source is very emphatic about a place called Mrs. Olson's Coffee Hut.
A must, that's the quote. And they mention generous portions where sharing is encouraged.
Which again signals the vibe. This isn't a delicate, tiny plate bistro. This is a place to fuel up before a day on the water. It's communal, it's hearty.
Feels like a place where locals have their regular tables.
Totally.
Although if you do want a pastry, they mention spudnuts in Fisherman's Village for donuts and croissants.
Or Honey Cups coffee brewing near the fishing docks. I love the image of grabbing a coffee there early in the morning, watching the fog lift and the fishing boats coming in. That's a mood. That's a whole aesthetic.
Moving to dinner, the variety is surprisingly international. We talked about the pronunciation earlier, moqueca, Brazilian cuisine.
Moqueca.
Right. Brazilian food is specific. It's often seafood heavy, using coconut milk, cilantro, peppers. It's vibrant. Having that in Oxnard shows a cultural richness that goes beyond standard seaside fare.
And then you have masala twist for Indian cuisine.
And, given the location, obviously sushi, the source lists Anava Sushi at Seabridge Marketplace.
That's pronounced anaba.
Correct. And Fisherman's House Sushi. Plus, you have the higher-end options like Oxen Ocean at the Zakari Dunes Resort.
It really runs the gamut from eating a taco under a blue tarp to white linen resort fine dining.
Which is a sign of a healthy ecosystem. A town that only has expensive restaurants is inaccessible. A town that only has taco stands might not attract the luxury traveler.
Right.
Channel Islands Harbor seems to have built a portfolio that sustains everyone, the camper, the luxury traveler, and the local looking for a quick bite.
Speaking of travelers, let's briefly touch on where to stay. You mentioned Zakari Dunes.
Yes. Zakari Dunes, pronounced Zakari. This is clearly the anchor tenant for luxury. It's at Mandalay Beach. The text mentions a world-class pool lounge and a large hot tub.
So that's your relaxation hub.
That's where you go to pamper yourself.
And for something closer to the boats.
The Hampton Inn, Channel Islands Harbor, is explicitly described as waterside. It's likely more functional, perhaps, for the people who plan to spend 12 hours a day outside and just need a clean, comfortable place to crash.
Right.
And then, of course, the source notes that short-term vacation rentals are available throughout the area.
Which is standard now, but good to know if you want a kitchen.
Exactly. If you buy that fresh fish off the dock or that box crab, you need a kitchen to cook it in. You can't steam a crab in a hotel sink. So a rental might be the strategic choice for the foodies.
Good point. So we've unpacked the week. We've looked at the birds, the boats, the coats, the crabs, and the weather. When you step back and look at the synthesis, what is the big picture here? What is the narrative of Channel Islands Harbor right now?
I think what stands out is the juxtaposition of slow down and speed up.
How so?
Well, look at the itinerary we just built. On one hand, you have this very calming, intellectual, museum-going energy. You're looking at 400-year-old art. You're riding a gondola. You're watching a play in a quiet wharf. You are absorbing history.
That's the slow mode. That's the recharge.
But then immediately adjacent to that, you have this very active, visceral energy. Jet skis, deep-sea fishing, buying live crabs, eating hearty breakfasts.
It's kinetic.
It is. It's a community that seems to be balancing history, like the Nelson Code, with modern active leisure.
It's not trying to be just one thing. It's not just a beach town, and it's not just a museum district.
No. It's a gateway to nature, clearly, with the whales and the islands. That is its unique selling proposition.
Right.
But it's also a fully functioning social hub. It feels very self-contained. You could spend the entire week there and not feel like you missed out on greater Los Angeles. You were in a bubble, but a very rich bubble.
That's a great way to put it. For me, I keep coming back to that final image we discussed. The idea that in one single day, this Saturday, for example, you could wake up, go see a replica of Admiral Lord Nelson's coat from 1805.
A piece of global history.
And then walk outside and eat a sea urchin that was alive an hour ago, right off the dock.
It connects the human history of the sea with the biological reality of the sea. It bridges the gap between the museum and the market.
Exactly. And I think that's the lesson for our listeners, whether they are going to Oxnard this week or not. It suggests that if you actually deep dive into a local harbor, really look at the bulletin board, read the specific events, learn the pronunciations, you find these layers that a superficial glance just misses completely.
You find the blue tarp.
You find the blue tarp. And that's where the best tacos are.
That's the takeaway. Always look for the blue tarp.
Thank you all for listening to this deep dive into Channel Islands Harbor. We hope this helps you navigate your week, or at least gives you a sense of the pulse of the place.
Stay curious and check those pronunciations.
We'll see you next time.